Hello everyone, welcome to a special episode of Code and the Coding Coders Who Code It, live at RailsWorld. This is part 3. I am joined by Andy Kroll, Chris Oliver, and Alan Reitelhoover. Hello gentlemen, how are you enjoying RailsWorld so far?
Good.
Yeah.
It's real good, except for the fire alarm.
Fire alarm. I heard about this, 2:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 2:30 in the morning. It had happened Tuesday or something, so some people didn't come down because they thought it was going to be another false fire alarm. I didn't know about that, so yeah. And then I ended up just hanging out because you're wide awake after the fire alarm till like 4 a.m., so...
That's the definition of the alarm is that you do wake up. That's the
Yeah.
point of the alarm.
It's quite alarming, one might say.
You might.
It was just, I thought it was just very aggressive room service at first, you know?
All right, so aside from a 2:30 in the morning fire alarm waking you up, what's been your favorite part of RailsWorld otherwise?
Just the hallway track as always. I haven't made it to any talks as usual, but I'm here for the hallway track.
Well, of course, yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I've tried to make talks. It hasn't happened. I get like 5 feet. I see someone else I want to talk to. I'm
Exactly.
Like, oh, well, we're talking to this person now.
I managed to eat lunch this year, so
Hey,
that was a
there
big
you
win
go.
over last year. Yeah.
The pains of being a celebrity is you don't even get lunch half the time.
Yeah. But
That's why celebrities are so, they're so slender, right? Because they just don't get
Is that how you stay so lean?
That's how I
Everybody wants to talk to Andy.
Maintain this gun show.
Well, you were running this morning. I saw.
did. I felt incredibly virtuous. I went for a run. I said to Miles, he runs, so I was like, "Do you want to go for a run? We'll go for a run." And he's like, "Yeah, okay." And then at 7 o'clock, when I texted him, he was like, "I hate you." And then I said, "Oh, let's run to the lake." So we're right at the top of downtown.
Nice.
Where the hotels are.
cool.
And it's further to the lake than I thought it was. But we got there just as like beautiful sunrise. So like we felt once we got there, past the swearing and Miles sort of silently hating me as we weren't going very fast, but I think we were going like slightly faster than Miles would have preferred after so many old fashions. So
I was going to say, I don't know how many parties you guys made it to last night, but there was quite a number of things going on.
No. I mean, the whole thing around RailsWorld is great, right? Like,
yeah,
it's very much. It's got much. As someone who organises conferences, there's a real good festival vibe.
Yeah.
To this, like you're not.
Yeah.
It is intended that you don't go to all the talks.
Right.
Like, Brighton River, you go. Right.
We were talking in the last episode about like it feels like we're just celebrating the new release, the new Rails release. Like that's sort of what RailsWorld feels like. We're going to talk about the new Rails release.
Yeah.
We're going to celebrate it. There's also some talks going on at the same time if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But otherwise, party time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's catching up with people, right? There was a photo after Eileen's keynote of the Ruby Europe. So all the Europeans who are here got on stage, and I think they thought it was going to be like 3 or 4 people.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No.
We're sort of standing there, and someone at the back is going, "Does the stage hold this much human weight? This doesn't feel totally stable."
Does Canada have a fire marshal?
Well,
are we in trouble
he's,
right
bu-
now?
he's busy at the hotel, so no.
yeah. The Rails 8 release was just fire. So
Super hot.
Bringing it back to the hotel. Alan, how have you been enjoying your conference so far?
This is amazing. A really amazing energy. A lot of new people. A lot of old friends. It's been a fun couple of days.
Have you made it to any talks, or are you just hallway tracking?
Yeah. Oh, Eileen's was great.
Yeah.
I felt really seen. Like we have all those problems, and it's the first talk I'm going to share with people when I get back.
Leadership included,
Yeah,
since
leadership included for sure.
It's a full stack problem in a way. What are you most excited for in Rails 8?
Oh gosh, I have so many years ahead of me before I can get there. But I really liked the solid queue stuff. That looked really cool.
Yeah.
Solid cache, solid cable. That seems like something we could definitely take advantage of.
Seems real solid. Yeah.
Thank you, Drew.
I mean, listen, Jason Charnes isn't here. I recorded with Jason, and he took care of all the jokes. And now I guess you could take over on jokes.
No. I basically do swearing and my accent, and you confuse that with charming and intelligent. So that's all I've got. Like, It was quite funny. There's a bit in Eileen's talk where she said shit, and I was like, and the crowd sort of went, oh, and I was like, when I swear on stage, I totally get away with it.
Oh
It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I'm gonna start marking my podcast as explicit content just so I don't have to filter myself anymore.
Yeah, exactly
It's
right.
just
Like,
exhausting.
we're all grown-ups here.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
for some definition of grown-up.
Listen, if you're a Rails dev, you've probably seen a DHH keynote, so you've
It's true.
heard the word fuck before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is.
You've heard it. So
I mean, he squeezed it into yesterday's keynote as well. So like,
only what 8 times?
I actually
Yeah.
counted because the last time I saw him speak, I did count, and that was 2 Portlands ago,
right.
and I got to 70 back in.
70.
70.
He's
Wow.
calmed down. He's really mellowed as
He
he's
Wow.
really
got older.
has calmed down.
I quit counting at 70. So
I didn't have that many fingers.
I had my shoes on. Can't count that high.
he only managed 15 this time.
Okay.
15.
50,
All right,
yeah.
he's getting to be an old man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's tiring to do all that swearing.
It's got to be. He was jumping around all over stage too.
He was
very
pumped.
animated.
He was
Yeah.
almost a dance.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. As pumped as I am for the stuff coming out in Rails 8, I'm almost more excited about Rails 8.1. Like just maybe because it's all new and shiny, and I didn't know. I knew a lot of the stuff for
Yeah.
8 going into
Yeah,
Rails.
because what, December was when he wrote up the list of stuff for Rails 8.
Yeah.
So we've been waiting
Right.
since December. We've known what's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the search stuff is just like it's got that feeling of like, oh yeah, of course we should have that.
Yeah,
like,
why
it's not,
don't we
and,
have
it,
that?
and it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, they should have built it already. It's like, oh yeah, now it definitely feels like the time. Like, you know, you want that. Like one of the best things about Rails is the API taste.
Mm.
And like the name, it has a
Yeah.
flavor, right? And it looks like, oh yeah, that's a real Railsy way of doing
Yeah.
the 80% full text search that is what you want, right? And as soon as you need something more, then you reach something else. But like, that's just, oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Totally makes sense.
I think the core team is excellent at really spending time marinating on naming and making sure that the names, like I think Chris, you have a video with Casper Tim Hansen, right?
Yeah.
Where he like so much of that video is him talking about naming and like his rationale behind naming, and like it was pretty eye-opening. Like I've always been like, hey, naming wins, naming's super important, but watching that video was like, wow, naming is
Right.
you should be spending more time naming things.
A really good example of this is, so before the authentication generator dropped, you would use like devise or something, and you would put a before action and authenticate user for maybe your application controller. But if you needed to break out of it, you would skip before action. But they just made a class method and call it allow unauthenticated access. And now that's what you see in your controllers, and it's wonderfully named. There's no extra skip before action nonsense there. It's just we slapped a name on top of that. That's all the code is, and it's really elegant to read and use. And it's one of those examples that's like, dang it, why didn't I think of that? And you might think of it more if you're building a library, but you can do the same thing in your own application.
Sure.
You just never think about doing it for whatever reason. Like I don't, at
I
least.
mean, one of the things I sort of took away from Eileen's talk is all this sort of like the modularization stuff. It's actually just about naming. It's about getting your concepts, and like some of the problems that the modularization is trying to solve are things that are, do you know what, the actual work here is to look at these 17 models and go, do you know what, that's called the wrong thing. This attribute's in the wrong place. This thing has got a bunch of stuff in it that we threw there because we were building fast. Like the work is what she claimed, which is like do the hard work, do the hard yards of being a software engineer.
The
Like,
design.
as being a software engineer is like migrating stuff from one box to another. I mean, that's that's what we do, is move that stuff around. But like, and the solution is not more rules.
Right.
The solution is more judgment, more time, and that sort of thing.
More craftsmanship.
More craftsmanship, yeah. And then like in all the positive sides of that.
I have a pattern of a design pattern that I like to use. It's registering classes into a factory, just using a class method on the base class, and that allows me to say this class either handles something or prepares something or belongs to something, just this exactly the same way you use belongs to
Mm.
or before action. And I think that's part of the reason why Rails is so successful, is that it leverages those parts of Ruby that make things so expressive and so easy to use.
Mm.
And the developer experience ends up so much just a pleasure to use. So
Yeah, yesterday I was talking to somebody and it was like, oftentimes you might have a model where there's like, this group of 3 methods is related to authentication and the next 3 are like billing related. And then watching 37 signals like publish Campfire and even just the Rails source code, it's like action controller base is just include these 15 modules and there's no other code in the class. And it's like, if you take those 3 methods for billing and just move it to a module and include that module, you've now given it a name, whereas just being in the user model, you've got a comment maybe that says, this is the billing code, when you could extract it to another file, give it a name, and then all of a sudden, you've now introduced this concept to your code that was missing, that now makes it much easier to find and rationalize about, and it's more organized, and those are the little things that go a crazy long way to make something like, I can come back in 18 months, forget every single thing that this app does, but jump right in, fix a bug, and move right back on to whatever I was doing.
It is absolutely okay to junk draw as long as you put a label
Yeah.
on the draw.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it really is like, hey, we have a bug in X. Well, okay, let me open all the files that relate to X, and I should realistically, like, if you're like, hey, I have a problem with billing, and you have to open, I don't know, like, user, I mean, maybe you can make that correlation, but, like, I'd rather open a billing module or a payments module or, like, something that feels more related. It just less tracking down files for where something might be, and more like it makes sense for it to be here.
Or make it Chris's problem.
Or make it Chris's problem.
I actually have kind of a hot take on this. When you put things in modules, you're leaving everything in that same scope as the class that you're in. And so one of the problems we see with that is there will be a method, instance variable defined in the controller, for example, that the module then takes reference on. But now it's a mystery guest inside the module, and you don't know where it came from. Or vice versa. There's a variable declared in the module, and now the controller's using it. You don't know where it comes from. So my preference is always to use a class to encapsulate that stuff rather than module. It's the same thing. I want the billing class
Sure.
to organize my code that way. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm generally thinking of like concerns for models when I'm talking about that, but in a controller, that is much messier, where you've got the action defining variables, and then if you're going to reference them in a controller concern, then it gets murky, which is why like the authentication generator will put everything in the current class with current attributes, which is that pattern that's like, we're not just moving this code somewhere else. Like, it's actually organized and, can be reasoned about independently, which I think is very important with that. If you're going to move the code, just don't just move it. Make sure it's like encapsulated, and this is its responsibilities, and kind of can be rationalized about independently, which helps, because otherwise you've just made it murkier by these things are still
You've entangled them.
Exactly. So it's just like moving your spaghetti a little bit off to the side, and you're like, it's still all tangled
hiding it
together.
in another file.
Yeah. You don't want that. That makes a lot of sense.
I kind of think I can make a case for both. Like,
The
depending
tangled
on,
spaghetti.
like sometimes
Sometimes
you just want a big plate of spaghetti.
I was going to say,
But like,
I love Italian.
But it's I think again it always boils down to this is the work of the people, right? Like trying to apply blanket rules of like even with myself, I find myself doing. I'm just like, I always do this. I'm just like, why do I always do this when I can? This could just be a method here. Like,
Yeah.
And sometimes I will feel the need to like, I need to extract that, and that's the concept there is this. But it's like knowing, it's having that feeling of when the concept deserves that special treatment rather than it just being. There's absolutely nothing wrong with a couple of methods
But that's what
within a class.
Yeah.
That's the judgment that you're applying. And I think,
and that's like, I don't fully understand the end goal yet.
yeah,
So I got to put it somewhere for now. And then I might figure it out 6 months later, actually, where it
Yeah.
needs to be organized. But it's okay.
the
just to
spaghetti
be
is still
like-
boiling
Yeah,
at this point.
yeah.
So
It might
if you
boil
want to stretch and completely
Yeah,
destroy
yeah.
this metaphor, let's.
And then
Let's do that.
eventually it's underneath the chicken parmesan. And yeah.
And it's cold.
It's
and
a little
it
6 months
moves as a
old,
lump.
but
So we only have today left because it's a 2-day conference. Is there anything that you guys are hoping to see? Anyone that you haven't met yet that you're like, I want to make sure on day 2 at some point today I'm going to meet?
I really wish that was the case, but yesterday, like, I was just like, is so and so here? And they were like, yeah, they were here all day. I saw them several times. It's like, it's just a really big conference.
It is a very big conference.
is.
And so for me, it's just like coming to these sorts of things for a while, and so I know a bunch of people either well or somewhat, or to say hi to, or just know them from the internet. I'm just like, it would be great to talk to all of them, but I literally only have 48 hours.
Right, yeah.
And so like I've sort of let myself know that it's okay that there's going to be some folks who I like and who I've chatted with before and who I'm just not going to have the time to see, or I'm just not physically going to be in the same room at the same time because there's like five or six different
several
areas, right?
buildings
It's kind of like it's a really that's the festival thing, right? Like you go to a music festival with your friends, and then you don't see them because you get lost on the way to the bathroom.
Everyone's doing something different. Chris, you got anything on your list?
no, I think I'll end up in the hallway.
Yeah.
I will aim to get lunch today again.
Yeah.
That's my main goal.
Gotta eat.
Keep energized because same thing, but like I always get very swamped at these, which is great because I get to meet all these people who have watched Go Rails or used Hatchbox or Jumpstart or something that I may not ever get to talk to them online, or we only have a brief thing over email or something. And so it's so awesome to put faces to names and meet people in person. So I just like, we'll post up in the hallway somewhere, make it 5 feet, end up talking to 5 more people, make it another 5 feet, and just keep doing that until
You're at the lunch table.
Yeah.
There you go.
Or like last year, until the lunch is being taken away, and I'm
You're
like,
just grabbing it on the way out. Yeah. Alan, what do you got on your agenda?
I'm really looking forward to Robbie yelling at us about tech debt.
Okay.
That's-
Robbie
what I'm
Russell's
looking
thought
for.
on tech debt. All right. Is everyone making it to the Shopify after party? Yeah, at Shopify headquarters.
Toby's house.
It's Toby's house.
This is-
Shopify headquarters, Toby's house. Same.
This is
same
all.
basic
This is
concept.
all we're all in Toby's house now.
Yeah.
I guess. Alan, are you making it tonight?
I've got a flight.
Ah,
I'm
bummer.
not gonna make it.
Well, at least we're getting to see you now, getting to spend time. Anything else springing out that we want to make sure everyone who isn't here is having super FOMO about?
They should be here.
They should be here, you're right, but it is incredibly difficult to get a ticket, so
Yeah.
not everybody could make it. All right, cool. Well, thanks for coming on, guys. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Enjoy your day too.
Cool.
Too.